This conference will now be recorded.
Right. So yesterday we have started with the triggers concept. We understood that a trigger is a set of statements. A trigger is a stored procedure which is used to perform follow-up actions. Okay, and we can also use triggers to maintain the referential integrity between the tables. So yesterday what we have done is we have created some couple of triggers. Let me open that. Yeah. So if you go to our schema Gensoft HANA, under triggers, we have only one trigger. I think another trigger we have dropped it. Okay, we have dropped the other trigger. Yeah. So one example we have discussed is to perform the follow-up action, and we have created another trigger check underscore department number. Okay. So let me open this trigger which you have defined. When I double click on that, it will open that particular trigger. So this is a trigger we have created. Okay, create trigger, trigger name, before insert on so and so table, reference in euro so and so. So what you are trying to do is, whenever you are trying to insert the record in T underscore EMP table, okay, whenever you are trying to insert the record into T underscore EMP table, we are performing a check whether corresponding parent record is available in the other table. What are the two tables we have considered? One is T underscore EMP, another is T underscore department. Let me open T underscore department first. So when I open the data preview, this table has got two columns, department number and department name, and the other department numbers. And we have another table T underscore EMP, which has got some three records. The departments here are 20 and 30. Right. So what is the logic we wrote for the trigger? Whenever you're trying to insert before we insert the record into this table, we need to check whether the corresponding department number is available in the parent table. If it is available in the parent table, then only it should allow me to insert. Otherwise, it has to raise me the exception. So we have declared one user defined exception associating with the exception code 10,000, and we are raising that exception at the appropriate place. Now, okay, this is the what thing we have created. Let me open the session for this. So I'll right click on my schema in soft HANA. I'll say open SQL console. Right, so we have opened the SQL console. So I will not set the schema here because any of the SQL console is open for current schema. What is the Gensoft HANA? Earlier, what we used to do, we used to open the schema for logged in user. Explicitly, we used to set the schema by using set schema. Here, it is not required because directly I open the session for which schema Gensoft HANA. Okay, so let me try to insert the record once again. I'll say insert into what is the table name T underscore EMP values. Okay, what are the columns in the employee table? Employee number, employee name, and what department number. Employee number, employee name, and department number. So here I'll say employee number I'll get as 4. Try to understand. Employee name I'll get as something Raju 4, and I'll give the department number as 10. The department number is 10. So what is the department number I'm trying to insert here? 10. So what happens? It will fire the trigger, and what the trigger is doing, it is checking whether this department number is available in the department table. Yes, it is available. So it should allow me to perform this particular operation. So when I execute, it is successfully inserted. So if you go and check the employee table, when I refresh, then it is inserted. I'll try to insert one more record. insert into T underscore EMP values. I'll give something 5. I'll give the department number as something Raju 5. I'll give the department number as 40. Okay. So what is the department number I'm trying to insert here? 40. It will check the trigger will be fired now. Before we insert this equal into this table, the trigger will fire. What the trigger is going to do, it is going to perform a check whether this department number is available in the department table. Since it is not available, since a count is equal to 0, it will raise the exception with this particular exception message. So it has to raise the exception now because this department number 40 is not available. So when I execute this, done, I got the message here. What is the message here? User defined error exception, no parent record. So this is what the message I gave when I'm raising the exception. So what is the meaning here? It is working fine. Now what I want is, yesterday we have seen how to drop the trigger. How to drop the trigger, drop trigger followed by what? Trigger name. Okay, drop trigger followed by trigger name. Now I don't want to drop the trigger. I want to temporarily suspend that particular trigger. Okay, I don't want to delete it completely. I want to suspend it. Means I want to disable it so that I can enable it at later point of time. Okay, for dropping it completely, we have to use the statement what? Drop trigger. Okay, so here how do you disable the trigger means, first of all we should know where this particular triggers are stored. So if you take our constraints like what? Primary key constraints, not null constraints, what else? Unique constraint. They are available in a system view called as what? Constraints, right? And if you take our foreign key, okay, foreign key constraint is available in a system view called as something referential underscore constraints. Similarly, the triggers which we are going to define, they are available inside a system view called as triggers. Okay, they are available in a system view called as triggers. So where I can see the system views means it is available in the system schema, I believe. So if you observe here, in my catalog, under my catalog only, if you scroll down, yeah, you can observe here we have what? A sys schema. It is a predefined schema which is given by SAP itself, which will come along with the HANA database. Okay, so let me expand this. Yeah, you can observe here. Let me remove the filter. I click on the views, I'll remove the filter. So you can observe here under this sys schema, under this view section, if you expand, you'll have what? Thousands of views which are given by SAP itself. So let me search for, I'm not interested to check each and everything, so I'll just filter it. Understood? I'm in the sys schema. I'll right click on the views. I'll say what is that? Filters. First let me check for constraints. Yeah, you can see here we have constraints, referential underscore constraints. This is a system view which will show me what? The general constraints like primary key constraint, not null constraint, and constraint. So it is a view name which is given by what? SAP itself. Similarly, we have referential underscore constraints. If you open the definition here, yeah, here also it is going to show me the referential constraints like foreign key constraints. So this anyhow we know. Okay. Now I'm interested with what? A system view called as triggers. So let me what? Filter. I'll search for a system view called as triggers. Yeah, you can see here we have what? Triggers. So if I open the definition of this, yeah, you can see view name is what? Triggers. View name is triggers. Schema is what? Says it has got many columns here. It has got many columns. One of the column is what? Schema underscore what? Name. And you can see here there is another column is underscore enabled. Is underscore enabled. So let me try to query here. Okay, so I understand that there is a system view called as triggers, which will hold all the what triggers information. So what is our schema? Our schema is what? Gensoft HANA. So in this Gensoft HANA, we have only triggers. We have only one trigger at this stage. Check underscore what? Department number, and it is an enabled state only now. When you're trying to insert the department number which is not available in the department table, I got an error, no parent record. So let me query. So I'll select start from. Okay, what is the system view name? Triggers. Select start from what? Sys dot triggers. Actually, for system views, I need not prefix with the view name also. I believe it will come automatically. Select start from triggers. Okay, if I leave it like this, it would display all the triggers available across the schema. So let me search for that. When I say F8, I can see it is giving me the triggers defined at different schema levels. I am not interested in all the things, so let me filter based on the schema name. So here I will say select start from triggers. What is one of the column? Schema underscore name equal to what is our schema? Gensoft HANA. So let me Gensoft HANA. Let me execute this F8. Done. Yeah, select start from triggers. Where schema name equal to Gensoft HANA. Yeah, schema name is Gensoft HANA. Trigger name is what? Check underscore department number. Then yeah, you can see on which table it is defined. T underscore EMP. And trigger action time is before. Yeah, good. See here, trigger action time is before. Yeah, it is before only na. And what is the action type here? Insert. So that information is available here. Sorry, where is it? Yeah, trigger event is what? Insert. Is it enabled here? So scroll right hand side. Yeah, you can see there is a column called is enabled is what? True. So the trigger is in what? Enabled state. Okay, now what is my agenda here? I want to temporarily suspend the trigger, disable the trigger. So what I'll do here, I'll say alter table. What is the table name? T underscore EMP. Understood? Alter table name. Yeah, disable trigger. What is the trigger name? What is the trigger name? Check underscore what? Department number. Check underscore department number. So let me try to give that. Understood? If I double click on this, it will expand, enlarge it. Again, if I double click, it will decrease that. Okay. So disable trigger. What is the trigger name? Check underscore what? Department number. Let me check the syntax. Alter table name. Disable trigger name. Done. So when I execute this F8, good. So it might have been what? Disabled. Let me query back and check. Okay. When I execute, yeah, same trigger is still available. Trigger is still available, but I'm interested in the state. Yeah, is enabled is what? False. Means the trigger is what? Disabled. Now what I'll do, I'll try to insert this record. Earlier when I tried to insert this record, what is happening? It is not allowing me to insert because there is no corresponding parent record. Now since a trigger is temporarily suspended, okay, it should allow me now. It should allow me to insert the record into a T underscore EMP table. Okay, if you refresh, okay, it should allow me to insert the record with T underscore EMP table, even though 40 department number is not available in the department table. Okay, so let us check it. It should allow me to insert. F8, done. You can see here, it has allowed me to what? Insert. Let me check the employee table. I'll refresh. Yeah, it has allowed me to insert 40, even though there is no 40 department number in the what department table, right? So it is allowing because we have disabled the trigger. I want to enable it back. So I'll say alter table name. Instead of disable, I'll say what? Enable. Alter table name. Enable trigger name. So if you want to disable, enable, or drop I should know the trigger name. Okay, so I'm trying to enable now. Let me check F8. It might have been enabled. Let me check the state now. Again, I'm querying for the triggers. Your schema name equal to soft HANA. Anyhow, we have only one trigger. See the state now. Yeah, is enabled is what? True. Means it is enabled. Now I will try to insert invalid records. I'll give the employee number as something 6. I'll say Raju 6. Okay, I'll give this as 60. Do we have 60 in the parent table? No, we don't have 60. So what happens? It should raise me what? Exception, because the trigger will be what? Fired. Okay, let me execute. It should not allow me to insert now because there is no corresponding parent record. If I done. Good. I got the error what? User defined as exception, no parent record. Okay. Let me try to drop the trigger. So for dropping the trigger, I should not say alter table name. Just have to say drop trigger name. I don't think that syntax is available. It's a control C. I want to permanently delete it. Okay. So I'll try to use alter table name, drop trigger name. I don't think this is available. Let me check. F8. Yeah, it is giving an error. Incorrect syntax near trigger. So this is invalid. This is invalid. Okay. I'll try to drop the trigger directly like this. Drop trigger name. F8. Good. The trigger might have dropped. Now if I query for the triggers from the triggers view, it should not show me any trigger now. When I say F8, yeah, there is no trigger available in my what schema. So if I refresh here, it will be removed here also. Yeah, it is removed. Understood? No? So we are able to create the trigger, able to disable, enable, and drop it permanently. Any questions so far? Okay, right. If there are no questions, fine. Many of them are absent today. How many are there? Actually, 17 were there, only 8 are present. See, the problem is these are all basics. Even if you miss, it's fine. But going forward, it will be difficult. Once we start with procedures and functions concept, you will have the dependencies. Okay, fine. Now, yesterday we have created two triggers. One trigger was related to what follow-up action. Okay, that is whenever I insert a record into the table, one table, automatically corresponding record should be inserted into the other table. So that is the example I gave for what follow-up action. I think I used a table like audit. I think yeah, audit table I used and emp underscore trigger. And this is the trigger whatever you have created. This is a trigger for what referential integrity point one. What is that point one? Whenever you are trying to what insert a record into the child table, I need to check whether any corresponding parent record is available in the parent table. If it is not available, it should not allow me to insert. So that anyhow we know. So what is the next point related to the referential integrity? Before you delete a record from the department table, I need to check whether corresponding child records are available. If the child records are available, it should not allow me to perform the delete operation. Suppose if you take this department table, we have what three entries. What are the department numbers here? 10, 20, and 30. And what are the records here? We have the records available. We have one record in 10, two records in 20, and 30. So there are some dependent child records. So when I try to delete here 20, for example, if I try to delete 20 here, it should allow me to what? Sorry, it should not allow me to delete because we have two records related to 20, so it should not allow me to delete. For example, as of now, we have 10 here. Do we have any corresponding child records? Yes, we have child record 10. So as of now, there is no trigger available there is no trigger available. I'll try to delete. So here delete from what is the table T underscore department where what department number equal to 10. Okay, so based on this 10, we have at least one entry in the employee table now. So technically it should not allow me. It should not allow me to delete the record from the department table, but in this case it should allow because at this stage there is no trigger defined. So I'll say F8. I'll say F8. What happened? It is allowing me to delete. So if you go back and check the department table, yeah, it has been deleted in spite of having the what child records in the other table. So now it should restrict me. So I need to create the trigger in such a way that I should do that restriction of deletion when there are corresponding dependent child rows. Okay, so let me quickly create that. I'll say create trigger. Uh, I'll give the name as something check underscore delete underscore department number. Create trigger check underscore delete underscore department number. I can write everything here, but let me try to put it in a separate line. Create trigger name. What is that action before delete? Before delete. If I say after delete, doesn't make sense. Okay. Before deleting it from the parent table only, I need to check whether corresponding what child records are available or not. Okay. So I'll say before what? Sorry. Before delete on before delete and what T underscore department create trigger name create trigger name before delete on T underscore department referencing. Okay, yesterday we have seen this syntax referencing old row. Delete is always on what existing records row, so I need to use what old row. If you are doing the insert operation, if you are checking on the insert operation, always it is what new row. So referencing old row, you can give some reference name. I'll give the name as something my old row. Okay, create trigger name before delete on T underscore department referencing old row some reference name. Then I'll use a statement what for each row begin and what end. Okay, yeah. Now I need to define the definition for my trigger. Okay, so what I have to do now, uh, I need to check whether any corresponding child records are available in the child table. What is the child table in this context? Employee table. So I should get the count. So since I should hold the count, I'll declare one local variable. Declare count as what? Integer. Some local variable. But now what I'll do? I'll try to get the data. Select count as star. Right? I'm using an aggregate function called as count. Select count of star into what is the local variable I declared count from which table? From the table T underscore what? EMP. Select count of star into CNT from T underscore EMP where department number is equal to I need to prefix the host the this is called as what bind variable or we call it as transition variable where department number equal what is the reference I gave here my old row dot what is that department number. Okay, select count of star into count from T underscore EMP where department number equal to my old row dot department number. Done. Okay, so what I have to do if count is greater than or equal to 1 means if at least one record is there, if at least one record is there, what is there? I got semicolon. I should give space, right? Okay, if count is greater than or equal to 1, then I need to stop the activity. What is the activity I need to stop? I need to stop that delete operation. Okay, so for that I need to raise the exception. So how do you raise the exception? If you're working with the user defined exceptions, first we need to declare the user defined exception. associating with the status code between 10,000 to 19,999. Then at the appropriate place, we need to raise the exception. So here I'll say, what is that? How do you declare the exception? Yesterday we have declare. You can give any name. My exception. Declare my exception. That is a condition for. Sorry, condition for SQL underscore error underscore code. Declare my exception. Condition for SQL underscore error underscore code. What is the status code I have to give? Error status code. It should be between 10,000 to 19,999. I'll do one thing. Wantedly, let me give the error status code as something like this. It should not allow me because from 1 to 9,999 they are reserved for system defined exception code. So I am doing something 7777. It should not allow me. Let's see what happens. Okay. If count is greater than or equal to 1, then what I have to do? I have to raise the exception. So in a normal ABAP context, we use the raise keyword. Here we use what? Signal keyword. Signal. What is the exception name? My exception. Signal my exception. I need to associate the exception text. So I'll say set message underscore text equal to I'll give meaningful message like dependents child rows exists. Dependent child rows exist. Signal my exception set message text is equal to dependent child rows exists. Let me cross check the code. Create trigger name before delete and so on. So since you are doing delete operation for delete and update always you will say old row, and for insert you will always say what new row. So referencing old row with some reference string, and for each row is a part of syntax. Then a declared a variable, a declared exception. What I am doing here, I am trying to get the count of what records from the employee table where department number equal to okay, what is the old row you are referring here? My old row or department number. Done. Then in case if the count is greater than equal to 1, then I am raising the exception. So let's see whether the trigger will be created or not. So when I execute, I'll say F8. Good, good. What is the error I got? Feature not supported. Signal or resignal allowed only for user defined error range. Good. Are allowed only for user defined error range 10,000 to what? 19,999. So hope it's clear. Okay. So how to comment here in our ABAP context we will say star now, so that the entire line will be commented. Here I can simply say what? The line will be commented. Line will be commented. So I'll say declare my exception. Condition for SQL code. I'll give it as something so on. So this should allow me now. Done. Let me try to create the trigger F8. Yeah, the trigger got created. So if I refresh this, yes, the trigger got created. Let me close the old one. Yeah, the trigger got created. Now let us try to perform the operation. This is the data and department table. How many records are there? We have two records, 20 and 30. And in the employee table, we have these records. Okay. So now what I'll do, I'll try to delete 20. I'll try to delete 20 from the department table. Do we have any dependent records here? Yes, we have some two records based on 20. It should not allow me to delete now. One second, just hold on, please. Just hold on. Yeah, let's continue. So where we are, I need to check whether trigger is working fine or not. So I'll try to delete the department number 20 from the department table. So I'll say delete from T underscore department where department number equal to 20. Okay, delete from T underscore department where department number equal to 20. It should not allow me to what? Delete. Let me check. F8. Yeah, I got an error. User defined error exception. Dependent child rows exist. That's all working fine. So if you want to what? If you want to what disable or if you want to drop it, already we have seen the syntax for what? Disabling, enabling, and dropping the triggers. That anyhow we know. So this is the main theme of what this triggers concept. How to declare the triggers and how to disable, enable, how to drop it, and we should know the location where the triggers are available. They are available in the what sys schema as part of a view called as the triggers. Any questions? Again, these things will come when we go to procedures and functions cursors going forward.
Hi, sir. This is Jacob.
Yeah, Jagat, tell me.
Yeah. So while creating a table, if we give option like on delete cascading, and then we create trigger on the
Sorry,
table.
sorry. You are saying you are creating foreign key, not table.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Foreign key,
Mm-hmm.
and if you give on cascading, I mean,
Uh-huh.
delete something option,
Correct.
and then if you create trigger on the same table against to that
Mm-hmm.
condition,
Yeah.
so it will
Prefer,
take prior. Yeah.
preference will always be given to constraints.
Okay. Constraint. Okay.
Constraints only, yes. Okay. So we cannot change the importance here. Always the importance is given to constraints only.
So in that case, while creating trigger itself, it should give error, right?
As per my knowledge, it will not give error. We
Oh.
need to check it practically, but as per my knowledge, it will not give any error because
Okay.
the trigger we are just creating the template. That's all. When it gets actually executed, only when you are what performing some DML operation. So at that
Uh,
time only it will check, not at the time of creating. You
okay.
understand? So it
Yeah.
will not stop us to create the trigger. I believe the trigger will be created. So you'll
Hmm.
have two things now. One is on delete cascade as well as trigger. So when you're doing the DML operation, always the preference is going to constraint only.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Right. So related to these user defined exceptions, what is the procedure we understood? We need to declare the exception with what? Declare keyword. Okay, and exception error range for user defined exceptions should be between what 10,000 to what 19,099, and then we need to raise the exception at the appropriate place using what keyword signal keyword. Okay, done. So far we have seen two types of database objects. One is what tables, another is what triggers. Tables and what triggers. Now what we'll do is we'll go to a small concept here, sequences. Sequences, okay? So these sequences you can visualize similar to a number range format in our SAP, number ranging sequence in our SAP, normal what SAP, like suppose I'm trying to create a sales order or purchase order or some invoice, okay? Whenever we try to create those things, automatically some number will be generated as sales document number, purchase order number, or invoice number, whatever it is, billing document number. Okay, so that number is based on what? The numbering sequence defined for that particular client. Understood that number is based on the numbering sequence defined for that particular point. Similarly, this sequence also we can use for automatic numbering. Sequence also we can use for automatic numbering. And a sequence is an independent object. A sequence is a independent object. What do you mean by that? Once a sequence is created, I can associate that sequence. I can associate with that sequence with any number of columns across the tables. So it is not based on any table column. It can be associated with any column across the tables. So let us quickly create how to create the let us see how to create the sequence here. So I'll say, so what is the main purpose of sequence? Automatic numbering. Just to give an example, when do we go for this automatic numbering is, suppose in this case, we have a table T underscore EMP. Okay. So here employee number is there, which is the primary key. So whenever I insert a new record, it should automatically pick up the what last employee number. It has to increment by one and it has to provide the new employee number. Means I'll provide the data only for employee name and department number, and I'll attach the sequence to the employee number. So it should automatically pick up the last sequence number and increment it accordingly or decrement it accordingly. Okay. So how do you create the sequence here? See, create sequence. Acha. Sorry, before I do that. So we know that this table we can create either by using SQL console, or I can create the table by using what UI means. I can right click on the table and I can say what new table. Okay, this is possible. Anyway, we have seen one example how to create the table using what UI. I can right click like this. I can create the table using UI also. This is known to us. Similarly, if you take triggers, a trigger can be created. A trigger can be created only using what? SQL console. So we have seen how to create using SQL console. Suppose I'll try to create the trigger using UI. Right click on this. I'll say new, disable. There is no option for creating the trigger using UI, user interface. I should create always using what? Manually using SQL console. If you take sequence, if you take sequence, I'll right click on, as of now, do we any sequence in our schema? No. I'll right click on the sequence. I'll say what? New sequence. Okay. It is opening with the editor where I can, it is opening with a UI where I can create the sequence. What is the meaning? Sequence can be created both by using UI as well as by using what? SQL console. So if I try to create using UI, I need to give all these things. Okay. So we'll understand this later on. First, let us create the sequence using what? Manual's create statement. So let's create sequence, create sequence. Okay. I can give any name. I'll give it as something ID underscore sequence, create sequence ID underscore sequence. Everything I can type in the same line, but to increase the readability, let me put it in the new line. Create sequence, sequence name. Okay. Start with what? One. Start with one, and then I'll say increment or decrement. I'll go for increment. Increment by one. Create sequence, sequence one. Start with one. Increment by one, and I'll say min value. Min value generally is starting value. Min value is one, and then I'll say max value. I'll give it as something 100. Min value is one. Max value is what? 100. Min value is 1. Max value is 100. And then I'll say cycle. Cycle I'll say something cashy. Cashy I'll say something 5. Okay, so I'm trying to create the sequence by using all these additions. Starting value, incremented value or decremented value, min value and max value. Min value in most of the cases is similar to what starting value. Then I said cycle and then I said cache. Okay, so let's see what happens. I'll try to create. Let me check whether my syntax is valid or not. I'll say effect, but the sequence got what? Created. So if I refresh, the sequence got created. I'll try to open this in UI. I click on this, I'll say open definition. Yeah, same thing I got. Sequence starting with increment, min value, max value. Reset query ignore. This will come later on. And I said cycle here, cycle. Because when creating the sequence, I said what cycle. So that's why the checkbox is what selected here. Okay, done. So let us understand this thing. So I created the sequence. So if you see here, as part of the sequence, I gave an addition called as cycle. By default, it is no cycle. By default, it is no cycle. Means even if I say, even if I don't give any cycle, it will take it as what? No cycle. You need not give it as no cycle. But default, the addition is what? No cycle. So what is this cycle means? Once a sequence reaches maximum value, okay, once a sequence reaches maximum value, it restarts the sequence from what? Starting value. Understood? Once a sequence number reaches the maximum value, what is the maximum value in this case? 100. Na? So once it reaches, it will restart the sequence again with what? Starting value. Okay, that is the meaning of cycle. And then I said cachify. Na? Cachify means, okay, what is the starting value? 1. Every time we have to increment by what? 1. What this cachify will do is, it will store the next 5 sequence numbers. It will store the next 5 sequence number in the buffer for faster access. Understood? Whenever I have to pick up the sequence value, if it is stored in the buffer, the accessing would be what? Faster. So just to improve the performance, I can give this particular cachify. Cachify, cache 10, cache 11, whatever it is. So in this case, when I say cachify, what is the meaning? It stores the next 5 sequence number in the buffer memory for faster access. Okay, so this is the way you have to create the sequence. Now what I'll do, I want to check I want to check what is the current value of my sequence. Okay, as of now, we have not yet started generating the sequence. Just I created the sequence. We have not started generating the sequence. So how do you know the current value of the sequence? As I told you, it is not dependent on any table. So you can see while creating the sequence, am I associating with any table here? No. Once a sequence is created, you can attach it with any number of table columns. So here I'll say I want to get the current sequence value. So select what is the sequence name, id underscore sequence dot. The sequence contains one attribute, or I can say one property called as curval. Curval. Select also dot curval from dummy. From dummy. Dummy is a I can say dummy is a temporary table used for holding the values temporarily. Dummy table doesn't exist physically. I cannot see it physically. It is a temporary table provided by the HANA database or any database I can say to hold the values temporarily. Means it will hold the values only during the execution. I cannot see that definition physically. So I'm trying to say this from dummy. I'm expecting what? Error, because we have not yet started the generating the sequence number. So when I say F8, look, I got an error here. Cur value of given sequence is not defined in this session. Cannot find cur value location by session ID, so on. So done. So it is saying that it has not started generating the what sequence value. Done. Now what I'll do, I'll try to associate this sequence with my employee number. Okay, this is my employee number. The problem is already one is there here. Na? So if I attach here, I'll get an issue. Let me try to attach. Let's see what happens. I'll say insert into what is the table name? T underscore emp. Okay, insert into T underscore emp values. What I want to attach it to employee table, which column? Employee number. Na? What is the position of the employee number? First position. Na? So I'll say, what is the sequence name? Here I'll say id underscore sequence, id underscore sequence dot. It has got one property called as next val, comma. I'll say something. I'll say something. Rani. I'll use some department number. Trigger is there now, so that's the reason I'll give 20. Otherwise it will not allow me to insert, so I'll give 20. 20 is any available in the department table. I'll give department number as 20. I am expecting an error here because now you have started generating the sequence. So what is the starting value of the sequence? 1 na? But already 1 is there in the employee table na? And in the employee table, employee number is the primary key. It cannot accept what? Duplicate value. It cannot accept duplicate value. Okay, so yeah, but what happens internally is sequence number will start generating. Sequence number will start generating, but it will fail to insert the record in the employee table. Let me check. When I say fit, good. I got an error. Unique constraint violated related to this table. We are trying to insert duplicate employee number now. That is one. It is that's why it is saying unique constraint violated. But if you see, the sequence number would be generated. Sequence number would be generated. Let me check the current value now. Let me check. I'll say F8. Good. You can see sequence number got generated, but we are failed to associate with the what? The table column. Table column. Hope it's clear. Okay, I'll do one thing. Okay. Hmm. I'll try to modify the starting value. Let me check whether I can modify the starting value. I'll try to modify the starting value. How do you modify? I'll go back to my sequence definition. I'll say open definition. I'll try to edit here. Anywhere do you have option for editing there? See, if I say export SQL, it is showing me that one. Max value. This I'm not interested. Okay, I'm unable to modify here. I'll do one thing. Let me try to modify from the SQL console. I'll say alter sequence. What is the sequence name? ID underscore sequence. Start with 10. Let me check whether the syntax is separate or not. Alter sequence name. Start with what? 10. I'll say F8. It's giving an error. SQL syntax error. Incorrect syntax near start. Okay. I'll do one thing. Alter sequence name. I'll say max value. Max value. What is the earlier max value? 100. Na? I'll try to give a max value as something 200. Let me check this one. Alter sequence name max value 200. F8. Yeah. So what is the meaning? I'm able to alter the max value. If I refresh this, earlier 100 was there. Now it is what? 200. Okay. I'll try to modify the incremented value. Increment by default is 1. Na? I'll say here alter sequence name. Okay, I'll say increment by increment. So we need to check each one like this to check whether it is supported or not. Increment by 2. By default, increment by is what? 1. Let me check this. F8. Yeah, it is also supporting, right? Like this, you have to do R&D. I'll refresh. Increment by is what? 2. Understood? So we are able to what? This thing. Okay. Now, what is the current value of the sequence here? How do you check it? I can say current value from dummy. Try to understand. Current value from dummy. When I execute, what happened was, what is the error I got? Cannot find curve value location by session ID so and so. Curve value of given sequence is not defined in this session. Okay, so good. Why? Why we got this error? Because somewhere I think I modified what? Starting value. But as it modified the starting value, no. Starting value is failed, right? It is failed. If you go back to the definition also, if you go back to the definition also, if you refresh, okay, it has not modified, but still I got what? Error. Might be the understanding is what? Since we, sorry, this I don't require. Understanding is since I modified that incremented value, it is giving an error. I'll do one thing. I'll try to attach it to the employee number again. Insert into T underscore ENP. Okay, values so and so Rani 20 done. I'll say F8. It has inserted. It has inserted. Okay, let me check the table. I'll go to the employee table. I'll refresh. How we got 7? What is the interpretation?
You
Yes,
have done increment by 2.
correct. But I said increment by 2. But on what basis it has incremented to? The starting value is not modified. It has still remained 1 only. Okay. It has still remained 1 only. Oh, I got 7. Okay, I'll do one thing. Let me insert one more record now. I'll execute this. Okay, done. Let me check the employee table. Refresh. This is understood. 7 and 9 is fine. Now I'll say select what is it? Current value from dummy. What is the current value? 9 it should show me. F8. It is showing 9. This is also okay. But on what basis I got 7? Any interpretation here? Anyone? This anyway is failed, but why? How I got 7? That is understanding.
Sir, is it considering last record value?
Last record value of employee table, huh? No?
No, that sequence.
No,
Yeah.
last record.
7. Yeah. 5. That was 5, right? Yeah.
No, but
So,
I told that sequence is not dependent on any column, na? Any table column.
okay.
When I'm trying to modify the starting value, it has failed. It has still removed, retained as what? 1 only. Increment by 2 I said it is successfully incremented. But okay. Increment by 2 I said. Then when I'm attaching, I got what I got was 7. On what basis? That is the understanding. Okay, 1 second. We'll do once again. If I execute this, what is the current value it is showing here? 9. This is understood to us. Okay. Now what I'll do is, what is the last employee record here? We are not bothered about this. This is 9 anyhow. Now what I'll do is, I'll try to increment once again. Okay, I'll try to increment once again. Okay, alter sequence of increment by, this time I'll say increment by 4. Increment by 4 I'll say. F8. Okay, it has incremented. Let me check the sequence definition. Refresh. Yes, increment by values are 4. That's okay. Now I'll try to, okay, I'll try to say current value now. Earlier the current value was showing as what? 9. Na? Current value was showing as 9. Okay, so now when I execute, will it give me an error? It has given the error. The moment I change that increment by value, it is unable to generate the current value. Okay, now I'll try to assign. Next value. I'll say something Rani and something 10, 20, Rani 5 something. Right, I'm attaching to my employee number. I'll say F8. It was attached. Let me check this. I'll say refresh. How much I got? 19 I got. What is the understanding here? There should be some logic, no? If I say current value, no, obviously it will show 19 only. Yes, 19. Okay, this is okay. Now if I say next value, it should insert me, it has to show me 23. 23, because each time we have to increment by what? 4, na? So when I say F8, go and check the table. 23 employee number should come. Yes, I got 23. This is also fine. If I say current value now, it should show me 23 only. Yes, it is showing 23. This is also fine. Now here only I'll say next val. From dummy only I'll say next val. So it should become 27. It should become 27. 27, that's fine. Now I'll attach it to a table. I'll attach it to the table. When I attach it to the table, it should become 31, because the current value is what? Well, next value it is showing it as what? Earlier it has shown as how much? 27, no? So 27 it has shown, right? Okay. Okay, next value is 27, no? Okay, one second. Before I execute this, I'll show the current value. When I say F8, current value is 27, that's fine. Now I'm attaching this. So this should become 31 now. 31. This also is fine, 31. But this is important. Just analyze this, how it is calculating internally here. When I say increment
Uh,
by 4,
Sir, we have written a sequence catchy 5, right? Maybe
correct. Okay.
so I calculated from inserting first record. Increment by 2 you have done, right? So at
Correct.
that time
Okay.
the current value is 1. So
Okay.
increment by 2 after that it is considering as
3.
2 plus 5,
Uh,
7. 2 plus 5, 7. So seventh record is the current record. Sorry, current record. 1 plus 5 is the 6. So current record will next record will be 7. So catchy it is adding to the number.
okay.
Even we can check the second alteration alter. How much
Increment by
we did
4 as
4.
well.
Yeah,
Hmm.
7 after 4. 7 after 4 is something like
11.
sorry. We have done 2 inserts. So 9 is
Correct.
the record for the second one.
Correct.
9 plus
Hmm.
4
Hmm.
it is
13.
13.
13.
13 plus 5 18. So
No,
next
how
record
5?
will be
How 5?
catchy 5.
No, catchy 5 means it will store the next 5 sequence number in the memory.
But catchy 5 is adding up for the increment
No,
number for
but
this sequence bit.
cache, it will not add. It will
Hmm.
store the next 5 sequence numbers. That is the understanding of cache. So
But by
it should be
observing this, it is doing like that.
13, 17, 21 according to this cache concept. But
Hmm.
how it is taking? Yeah, any other interpretation? Anyone? Everything is fine except this part. On what basis it is calculating, that is important. Okay, I'll do one thing. Let me check the current value once again. F8. Current value is 31. Na? Okay, this is known to us. 31. So
Make alteration by 2. Increment by 2.
One second, Shiva. So I said what is the current value of cache 5, na?
Yeah.
So my understanding is 31 is the current value. So next value would be 36, next value will be 41, next should be something 46, next should be 51. This is my understanding, okay?
Yeah.
Because I said cache 5, it will show the next 5 sequence number in that. And every time we are incrementing by 4 or 5?
5. Incrementing by 4.
4, na? So sorry. So this should be how much? 35, this should be 39, and this is 43 and what? 47. This is the understanding, right? Now I'll say increment by, no?
Do it
How
by
much shall I
2.
say?
By 2.
Okay, increment by 2, I'll say F8. Okay, it is incremented. So first of all, if I say current value now, it is giving me an error. It is giving me an error. The moment I said increment and when I say current value, it is giving an error. Okay, so current value of given is not yet defined in this session. Cannot find current value location by session ID so on. So okay. Now if I attach to the employee table.
1 second.
Hmm,
Open the notepad before inserting.
hmm.
It is 31, right? Right.
31
In the
current
table.
value.
Current value. So 31 plus 5.
1 second. Current 31 only, no? 31.
Yeah.
Okay. Hmm.
So 31 plus
But
5, 36.
no, Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi.
I'm calculating the cache.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
31. You're
As
saying
per my
36.
understanding, it should be 49.
36. 36 and from there it will be increment by 2. Increment by 2. 36, 38. Yeah.
40. Like this, huh?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Someone is saying something. Other is that?
Yeah, so this is Jagat. I think, as per my
Hmm.
understanding, it is storing 5 positions, right? Like caching 5 positions, right?
Acha,
I
acha.
think
So 40, 47. So
plus,
49 you are saying, yeah?
yeah,
Hmm.
49. I'm saying I don't know.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay. Let's try. Let's try. So what I have to do, I have to attach, no? Okay, I'm attaching. I'll give some employee number RAM is 6. Okay, I'm attaching now F8. Okay, it might have attached. Let me refresh. 37 I got, boss. So what it has
Nice.
taken? 37. Huh? Acha.
31,
So
5, 36. And then
no,
next record will be 36.
31. What was the next cache value? 35, na?
Yeah.
35. Okay, so increment by what? 2 I said, na? So that's why I think it
2.
is taking like that. Am I correct? That is my understanding.
Yeah, that is also correct.
37, 39, 41, what is that? 43 and what? 45. Okay, I'll do one thing now. One more last attempt, then I think it will be clear for us. Now I'll say, okay, before that I'll say current value. I'll say current value F8. What is the current value? 37. Okay, this is fine. This is fine. Now I'll say increment by 6 I'll say. For example, increment by 6. Okay. So what was the understanding earlier? So what is the next cache value? 39, na? 39. Yeah, 39 means you should become how much? No? 45, huh?
Yes, sir.
40, 45 only, na? 45,
Yes.
51, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so let me check it now. Anyway, if I say current value, it is giving me what? Error. Saying that not it started. Okay. Oh, why? Acha, did I executed this one? No, I think, na? I have not executed this. I'll say F8. Yeah. Now I'll say current value. I'll say current value. It is giving error. This is understood. So according to this understanding, employee number should be how much now? 45, na? 45, right? Earlier it was 39, so 45. So let me insert F8. Go and check the table. Hmm, 51 I got. Why? Why 51? F8, 51. This is fine. 51, no? Okay. So 51, 57, and blah blah blah. 63, 69, so on so. Okay, this is the current thing. Now I'll say again, last attempt. Increment by 3, I'll say. Increment by 3. Okay, so let me execute this F8. It would have incremented. Okay, so when I say current value, obviously it is giving me what? Error. It is giving the error. Now I'll try to attach. I'll try to attach. Before I attach, this is earlier one. So to say I say increment by 3 now. So when it becomes 60 now, 60, 63, 66 kind of thing. Let me check. When I execute, it has inserted. Check the table. Refresh. Oh, wow, 78. Huh? What is the formula?
Maybe internally they are using some algorithm or something.
78. So this understanding is also wrong. Okay, we'll do R&D on this. Okay, so if you go step by step, now we'll may understand, but rest of things are getting what altered. I'll drop the sequence. Drop sequence. Drop sequence. What is the sequence name? ID underscore what? Sequence. I'll say F8. Sequence is dropped. Let me refresh this. Yeah, it has been what? Removed. So everything is fine, but this algorithm we need to understand. When I increment, which value it is picking from that we need to understand. And other thing we understood is we are unable to change starting value. We are able to change that increment value. We are able to change that max value. Okay, that's fine. Okay, just analyze this part also. What calculation. Even if you refer to the documentation, I believe they will not give any explanation for that. We need to think of some logic behind this.
Sure.
Okay, let me also check on this. So sequence is a very small topic. Once a sequence is created, we can attach it with any number of table columns. So we are done with that. So next class, what we'll do is we'll start with probably with. Acha. I have not discussed local temporary table, global temporary table. I'll discuss that part. Yeah, local temporary table and not global temporary table. If you observe here, if you open the definition of any table, yeah, here you can see type is column store. 1 second, please. 1 second. I'll select this new table. Yeah, here you can see here. In the further properties, if you observe, so far we have created many tables. Suppose if I open this table only, if I open this table, Okay, if I go to further properties, temporary table type is none by default. None by default. Here we have a concept of local and global. Global and no logging. No logging is again different concept. We have local and global. So this part we'll discuss in the next class. Okay, that is on Monday. Again, we'll have the next class on Monday. So practice this. I'll share this everything and all the recordings I'll try to share today. Okay, we'll continue again on Monday. Okay, if you have time, just analyze this. If you get any solution on this, please let me know. Okay,
Sure.
yeah. Yeah, any other doubts, others? Lalit, Karthik, Sudhanshu,
I'm fine, sir.
and okay. But I've shared that vendor details. Anyone has took the server from them? Is it working fine?
Yes.
As of
Yeah.
as of as of now, no, sir. I am working with my
Your
personal ID.
companies. Acha, acha,
Yeah,
okay.
maybe after 1 month or 2 months, I'll request
Okay,
him.
okay. No
Anytime I
problem.
can request him, right?
Yeah, yeah, no problem. Anytime, no problem. Not an issue.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
The server which I am using is also their server only. So you'll not have any problem like speed problem. Okay.
Okay.
This server also their server only. Okay. Because I'm taking the classes in remote places. I'm not taking it from institute. Okay.
Mhm.
Chalo then. Okay. So we'll
Bye, sir. Bye.
continue again. Yeah. We'll see you again on Monday.